I tried to do this before a couple times. One time it got deleted, and another time it was I went off and on another tangent about the finale. I'm very upset about the finale still. I can't say enough to explain different things about the show. So there's so much going on. There's so many different components to how I feel. So I'm going to talk about one episode in particular that points out to me that Troian Bellisario is one of the greatest actors who has ever lived. She's amazing. So I'll be talking about her mainly. Well, Spencer, really, but this is all a testament to Troian's acting. The fact that I know all this about her without the show flat out telling us this information about her. So, I mean, they did, but they showed instead of told, and she did a great job of acting this to where we understand this. So, okay, first of all, I'm going to be talking about the episode 3:16. I think I know, possible, yeah, 3:16. Misery Loves Company, and I'm pretty sure that's the numbers, but I know it was Misery Loves Company. So it's the episode where Spencer finds out that Toby is on the A-team. So I'm only going to be talking about Spencer. I'm not going to be talking about the whole episode, the other things the girls went through. For a little recap, just to quickly, Hannah has an interview, which I will mention that, but it has something to do with Toby. So Hannah has an interview with a fashion designer or something like that, and she goes for an interview, and you know the rest of the story, she gets knocked over. It's a fake interview, and you know A had set up this fake interview, and Hannah sees Redcoat outside, which is Allison at that time, and so then we see Aria. You know, she's got the flu, and the girls go and support her, take her various things to help her get better. Saved by the Bell on DVD, which is cute, and then Meredith actually is the one that comes over to take care of her, which is terrible. And so Meredith is there watching Aria while she has the flu, but secretly she's putting sleeping pills into her tea. And so Aria's going through that, and Meredith is crazy. Allison comes over to get the diary pages, talks to Aria, and we know, of course, that it was Allison and not a hallucination, which I knew at the time. That was the one thing I was right about, Allison being alive. Not the only thing, but the main major thing that I was right about was Allison being alive. So I like to point out whenever possible that I knew that, so I'm very happy that I was right about something. So anyway, she was alive and talking to Aria, and she left. Told her not to drink the tea, and then, you know, we find out that Meredith is in fact crazy, and she pulls some horror movie stuff on Aria and locks her in the basement. Knocks her in the head and locks her in the basement. She's crazy, and so... And of course Byron feels sorry for Meredith because she's crazy, which, you know, he's quite awful in this episode. But he's not dangerous. He he really should have had more sympathy for his daughter instead of his girlfriend, but that's not what this is about. So there's all that, and Meredith also locks Emily and Hannah down in the basement with Aria, and Byron comes in and rescues them, and you know, finds out that Meredith is crazy, and that's all their story. Emily's, I believe she is following Caleb and Paige around in this episode. I'm pretty sure that's what she's doing. So anyway, Paige and Caleb secretly met up to form an alliance to help the girls, and it's cool. I mean, I like them, so that's cool. And Caleb is obviously one of my favorite characters of anything ever, so there's all that. But okay, that's the recap of all the rest of the storylines. And so back to Spencer and Toby. We see at the beginning of the episode that Spencer and Toby are in her room, and he's just taken a shower because he doesn't have plumbing in his loft yet. And so he's there in a towel, and it's quite awesome. So, but he goes to leave, and he gets his pants, and something falls out the pocket, and Spencer's, mentions that he has a hole in his pocket, and then she mentions that she will sew it for him. She once made a dress from scratch out of, fabric of the Mary's Queen of Scots costume, so without any, pattern to work with, so she, she can do that because she's Spencer Hastings, and of course she can, you know how that goes, anyway, I, keep in mind that there was a hole in Toby's pocket, so that's something to keep in mind for later. So anyway, her mother comes in, and I talked about this in the deleted thing. Veronica, it looks exceptionally pretty in this scene for some reason. Her and Spencer share a moment talking about a recipe of Spencer's grandmother's that, Veronica had made for Peter at some point in their past. It was a romantic date. Maybe their first anniversary for the wedding, I don't remember, but her and Spencer are bonding over this, sharing of the recipe. Her mother brings her the recipe, and Spencer's planning on surprising Toby with the anniversary dinner. It's the 1-year anniversary, and so he tells her that he has to work that evening and they can't have a date, and she says that she can't have a date either because she's going to a dinner with her father for a business dinner. And they're both lying, but she's lying, so she can surprise him, and he's lying because he's working for the A-team. Quite opposite reasoning there. And so Spencer's very in love and just beside herself with joy over this relationship, and it's so heart-wrenching. So she looks adorable in her outfit. I remember her outfit in this episode so well. I can picture it right now. She looks so adorable and innocent, and I'm sure that Mandy Line had planned this to make her look sort of innocent in this, to make it, stand out more to us what's going on. So anyway, Spencer and Veronica sat there and chat, and Leslie Farah is a very beautiful woman, all the time. She's a beautiful woman, but in this scene, there's something about her face that looks very cheerful and sweet and nicer than she usually looks. She just looks softer in the face and more sweet, and for some reason maybe they made her makeup like that to give us this bonding moment between her and Spencer. Well, she just looks exceptionally pretty in this scene. I noticed that every time I watch it, she looks so sweet and lovely, and of course she's beautiful all the time, but she usually looks very serious. Even when she's being sarcastic, she's hilariously sarcastic, but even those moments she's looks serious, and and this she looks very much like she loves her daughter and like she's a caring mother, which that's questionable, and we'll get to that. Of course she loves Spencer, but as far as knowing how to be a good mother, that's more of the issue than whether she actually cares. I mean, of course she cares, but she cares about the wrong issues. So anyway, Spencer and her, have the bonding, and then fast forward to later, Spencer is cooking this lasagna in Toby's loft, and she's bought him a Scrabble board, and which is what they did together on the first night together was play Scrabble, and she set it up to say the same things on the Scrabble board that they said you know, that they put on there the first night. And she's also had it engraved to say, to T, my safe place, my soft place to land, or safe place, my safe place to land. You know, love S, which is their little codes for each other. And she, which I will mention this briefly, people were saying, why did Toby steal her candy? Well, Sabrina was the name of the girl that, with the gummy bear, the pot gummy bears. Actually, Toby didn't steal those, he saw them in her bag, and they said, I thought you needed these to relax, as a treat or something. And then she signed it S, because her name is Sabrina. And so, Spencer's pot dealer's name is Sabrina. And, she had wrote that for Spencer and snuck it in her bag without Spencer seeing. So when Toby took them, he thought they were from Spencer to him. They thought they were his. He was actually stealing them from her. He thought she was going to give them to him. He thought she signed it with an S like she always does. Just, you know, coincidence that Sabrina did the same thing, so. And they have the same initial. I mean, it was, you know. So anyway, back to the past. I just want to point out he did not steal those. A lot of people didn't notice that note and how it, you know, he thought they were from Spencer. So anyway, so she has this engraved Scrabble board set up, and she's writing him a letter in a card. Then she can't find a pen, so she goes to the drawer to get a pen. And we see laying there that Toby's parking pass for Radley, where he's been visiting Mona. And then, you know, cuts scene, so we never saw whether Spencer seen that or not. So when Hannah goes for her interview, she goes in and there's no one there. There's just a bunch of mannequins, and of course A is in there, and A pushes, you know, mannequins into Hannah and knocks her on the ground. It's very violent, and not very nice at all. And I'm pretty sure he was probably trying to get back at her for making him go to that party and dance with her and lie to her. But no, maybe he had some resentment still. But anyway, so he runs past her and drops a key out of his pocket. And the reason is because there's a hole in his pocket, and so, you know, obviously that was Toby for sure. It wasn't some other A-team member. He actually did that to Hannah. And so he drops the key out of his pocket, and that's why I said, remember, you know, that he has a hole in his pocket. So the key falls out the hole in his pocket, and Hannah sees it and gets it, and she interrupts Emily spying on Caleb and Paige. I'm pretty sure that's what she was doing. And so Spencer and Emily go to Hannah's to discuss the key that Hannah found, and they want to take it to the police. And Spencer says, let's wait until Ori is here and let her be part of the decision. She doesn't seem to, and this is the part about her acting that I am amazed by. Watching it the first time, I was asking myself, honestly, like, does she know that Toby is A? Like, did she find that? You know, I was wondering, and part of me was hoping she didn't know. Not that I, you know, was on his side. I didn't want things to go sour with him yet. I was not ready. Part of me was hoping she never found out, so that, you know, she could live blissfully unaware and not crack and break and shatter like she eventually did. And so, you know, I'm sitting there, you know, it's tearing me up, wondering if she knows. And of course she does not give it away in the least, that she knows anything. So I was wondering when she was going to find out. We knew she was going to find out in this episode. You know, from the internet, they tell you everything beforehand, pretty much. I kind of like for it to be a surprise, and yet I can't keep my eyes off of, you know, spoilers. But anyway, she, you know, she's not giving anything away here. And, so she takes the key and says she'll keep it, and then she goes back to her, you know, house and Toby surprises her with flowers for their anniversary. He comes in and, you know, they're all lovingly talking to each other about their anniversary and how they, you know, are sad that they can't spend it together. And, he sees the key laying on her counter and asks what it's for. And then she lies to him and says that it's Melissa's because she doesn't want him to know, you know, that she's after A or whatever. Or so we think that's what she's doing. And so she's lying about it. And he's obviously lying about it because, you know, he knows that he dropped that very key. And so they're both lying to each other. And it's like a brilliant game of chess here because they're both lying and being very loving. And they both know they're doing it. Like, it's so amazing to watch. It's like a human chess game. And they're lying to each other and, you know, still acting very loving. And so he goes back to work and she takes the key from him and puts it in the drawer and under the counter, and then he leaves. And then, you know, he calls her later, tells her he's still at work and on his way home, and she tells him that she's still at dinner with her father. And then we see, later we see the outside of Spencer's door to her sitting room, and so A is entering the room and then goes to the counter in the drawer and starts looking for the key, and then, you know, we see someone appear behind him and her cute little outfit is Spencer, and she says, is this what you're looking for? And A raises his head up, and of course it's Toby, and we see his face. And he slowly walks to her and says, all he says is Spencer, and she slaps him in the face. And I'd like to give a little credit to Keegan Allen for this, because he actually, this was not a stunt of any sort. It wasn't a fake slap, it wasn't a theater, you know, stage slap, it was a real slap. He told Troian to slap him in the face as hard as she possibly could, for real, and to make it look, you know, as realistic as possible. And she was like, I don't want to hurt you, and he was like, I don't care if you hurt me, I want this to look real, and I want it to come across as real as possible. So that's very brave of Keegan. She slaps him very hard in the face, but his chiseled jaw bounces back fabulously a second later, which he took it very well. And he just stares at her with this look almost of anger, but not really. And at this point you know that he's not all bad, because he looks at her with this face of, you know, he's not mad really, he's not enraged by this. She slaps him in the face and he just stands there like, partially devastated. He has a sort of mad look on his face, but it's more a look of, you know, I deserve that, obviously. And so her mother comes in, you hear Veronica yell for her, and she turns around and Toby is gone out the door already. Apparently being A made him faster than he normally was. I don't know, maybe that black hoodie gives you superpowers. I don't know, but no, I'm just kidding. But he does run out the door very quickly, and Spencer turns around and sees her mother, and Spencer, obviously, this whole time that she's, you know, been in the kitchen with him in the complete darkness, that all the lights are off, she's been crying this whole time, and silently, you know. And so she turns around and sees Veronica there, and she says, "Mommy." You know, tough, doesn't take any crap from anyone. Spencer Hastings saying the word mommy the way she did it, she actually just broke. She broke. I mean, she shattered right there in front of our eyes and said mommy to her mother. And that's like one of the saddest things on a television show I've ever witnessed, getting to know this character so well, and they've written her so well. Spencer is one of the best written characters of anything I've ever seen. Going back even to Shakespeare, you know, she's so complex and of a character that, you know, on the outside she's very much a strong adult type, you know, she's already mature enough to be an adult and be on her own, and that's the Spencer we see on the outside, and she's very much the protector of her friends, and you know, she's, you know, such a mature and sophisticated woman even as a 16-year-old girl. That's what we see on the outside, and yet on the inside, Spencer is very much a little girl that's never had parents that were caring or emotional with her, and you know, her sister seemed to hate her, and her and Melissa were always at each other's throats, and Spencer at one point actually said to Melissa, she was like, can we stop this war that started between us? I don't know when this war started, but can we stop it? And she's like, I'm only 16 and I'm tired. And that part always kind of makes me laugh, but kind of makes me sad, because Spencer is only 16 and she's tired, you know. A 16-year-old is tired, and she's always talking about being stressed and how her, you know, the back of her neck hasn't seen air for days, you know. She's always so stressed, and so it's kind of funny because she's very sarcastic about it, but deep in those words are her crying for help, and she doesn't ever get any. And so Spencer, being the protector of her friends, this is why this is devastating to her. A lot of people maybe watched it and thought, you know, oh, they broke up, or this is a, you know, a teenage relationship, you know, big deal. It's very much not about Spencer losing her boyfriend, or her boyfriend, you know, doing something wrong to her, lying to her. We've all experienced that. I have quite a bit. However, and I relate to this part too, because there are certain people that in your life that, you know, you feel like you can certainly count on, regardless. And it's not so much about they're your boyfriend or someone that you like. It's more about what they have done for you and what you feel like you need them. Well, I'm not saying you need a man or a boy for any reason, and Spencer obviously doesn't either, but you know, we do need relationships in our life, and you know, you're trying to be a tough girl saying I don't need a man, or you don't need a man, you know, it doesn't change the fact that we are not to be on an island, you know. So our relationships do help us grow, and are there for our emotional support, and so I can tell you from her personal experience that the people that I've, you know, have lied and betrayed me, boyfriend types, or even friends, you know, it's not the people that you just like and whatever, you know, that it hurts or whatever, but it's truly, truly devastating when you really trust someone and you think they're, you know, that they're always going to be there for you, or they helped you through something, or were there for you emotionally. It's more devastating in that sense. So anyway, this is where Spencer is, but it's worse for her, because Spencer obviously has never had a strong family love relationship, and her entire family is all about business and looking good to others. And you know, we know that Spencer ran away when she was a child, and went to the movies and took a sandwich and saw a cartoon, an animated film, she says, and she gets bored and goes home, and no one even noticed she was gone. So she says all this to Toby, and he tells her that if she ever decides to run away again, to let him know so he can go with her. And so, you know, her family life is obviously, she doesn't have any support from her family. They're always pushing her to do better or look better to others and be a sophisticated upper-class citizen, you know, and they're all about looking good and, you know, winning and being the best at everything. And so a weakness is seen as a flaw. Any weakness or any failure is just a terrible thing in the Hastings family, and it's not allowed. And so, I mean, Veronica even almost, she thought she might have cancer, and she couldn't even tell her husband because it was a flaw. Spencer cries to her and says, you know, being sick is not a flaw, you know, and it's like they don't seem to get it. Of course, she didn't actually have it, so that's good news, but that's the kind of family they are. Veronica didn't even feel she could tell her family or husband that she thought she, was sick, because it would be seen as a flaw, a weakness, and that's the life that Spencer grew up in, and so she can never be weak, there. And then her other family, which is her friends, who they're very loving, they're good friends to her, definitely. And they would be there for Spencer if she ever needed them. However, Spencer herself feels as though she has to protect them at all times. She's the leader after Allison went missing. So she was always combating with Allison, and that friendship was very fragile at the start. But Spencer feels responsible for the girls, and now that Allison is missing, and she's the leader of the group, and she always was very protective of them, even after she realizes that's not, it's just her nature to be protective of the people she loves, at all cost. Spencer would drive off a cliff to save her friends. She's very protective. And even in the dollhouse, the episode where they escape the dollhouse, Spencer seems to have given up on any hope of escaping or anything of that sort, and she's just kind of very dry and not trying really hard to apply herself to figure out a way to escape, because she has obviously, been through a lot and been tortured for a month, so she's pretty much given up on doing anything about this. And then at another point, Hannah is talking about her mother going into the hospital for being so worried about Hannah because they can't find them. And the minute that Hannah breaks down about her mother, Spencer immediately jumps into action. She sees that Hannah's, breaking down and being very sad about this, and so that's the thing that motivates Spencer into, kicking into her Hastings, suit of armor of figuring out how to get out of there, and that's ultimately what saved them, aside from Allison, and from the inside of the dollhouse, what saved them was basically Spencer's love for Hannah, and she had given up on, hope for escape. You could tell it in her face. She just kind of was waiting around to see what happened, and that's not really Spencer's nature, but after all this, she'd pretty much given up. And it is her nature that, that's just one example. Spencer's very much gotten tired of, being a fighter, and when it comes to just Spencer herself, she would like to, just relax and not fight. She would rather just give up and just kind of chill out, and so she's kind of sick of all this stress. So when it comes to herself, she's very much quick to give up and just, say, I'm not even fighting it, I'm just not. But it seems as though every time that happens and something happens with her friends that causes her to have to kick into her, put on her Hastings face and rescue the girls or protect them in some way or figure something out for them. So she's definitely the protector of the group, and she feels very responsible for them. So between her two families, with her family at home, she can never relax or be weak. It's not allowed. And with her friends, she can never allow herself to be weak. She won't allow herself to be weak. The girls would fully support her being weak, but she doesn't allow it herself. She thinks she needs to be strong for them. And so the only person in her life after she started seeing Toby, she immediately, becomes vulnerable and weak when she's around Toby. He's very much the person in her life that, that's why she calls him her safe place to land, because everything else in her life is so stressful, and she's very much pulled to the end of herself in every direction. At this point, especially with A bothering her and schoolwork, and she's trying to be the best at schoolwork, and A's been torturing them for years, and feeling responsible for her friends, and not having family that supports her emotionally, and she's near the end of her rope in every direction to begin with. So Toby being the only person that she can, really relax with and be weak with, she needed him to be there for her, because he was the one that, when she was around Toby, he was her protector instead of her being the protector of the relationship. So he was her really only escape from herself and all the stress that she's under. So she could just make out with Toby and be, vulnerable, and, it was her escape from her mind and her stress. And since she's about to snap anyway, under all the other stress, the moment that Toby betrayed her so terribly, also while he was on the A-team, he took her virginity, and she's very much in love with Toby, and he is in love with her, but at this point we don't know that, the audience, and of course Spencer doesn't know that. So when she breaks to her mother all this stuff, is immediately in my mind her, her childhood, her family, her being strong for her friends, Toby being her only person to be, weak and vulnerable with. He was really very much part of what was keeping her sanity, what small amount she had left, that relationship and friendship, they were more about, they were very much friends also, not just boyfriend and girlfriend. So she really needed at least his friendship to be there for her, to, keep her sane. And the moment that he, did this to her and she found out, she really broke, and she shattered, and and this is really amazing to me. After we cut to the scene where she's climbing up his loft steps, and she gets to his door, and she starts begging him to let her forgive him. Instead of waiting to see if he has forgiveness, she doesn't even hesitate to go to him. She went all the way to his loft to actually beg him, almost literally on her knees, begging him to let her, forgive him. Give me a little bit of a reason. Tell me anything and I will forgive you, Even if he would have lied to her about it, she probably would have forgiven him, She was begging and pleading with him to give her some small, the tiniest reason whatsoever, and she would forgive him, and that's just so beautiful to me. And coming from Spencer herself, the person, this character is very quick to accuse people of being gay, and is very unforgiving when, the girls try to defend whoever she's accusing. She's on them like a rabid dog, she's just very, very suspicious and paranoid about people, and the minute she accuses somebody, or, she gets one little clue in her mind that someone is A, she immediately, that's who A is. And even with Toby before they fell in love, she was very rabid about, it's gotta be Toby and he's for sure A, and, we're not gonna be nice to them, we're not gonna talk to them. She's very unforgiving about things like that, especially when it comes to A. She's accused every single person, of being A, and, Heather Hogan actually said something funny about this, but this is not about being funny right now, so, anyway, she very much is very, strong-willed and, very, stubborn about this, and so, her being that way with everyone else, even Toby at one point before she fell in love with him, to see her break down and, beg him, plead with him, crying, she says, please tell me there's more to the story, something that I don't know, and she's bawling her eyes out, and she sinks down to a sitting position on his porch and cries there for hours, which is something that Spencer said in a later episode, that she sat there for hours and cried. And she tries to open his door at first, and the chain lock is on, and she just breaks down and cries, and it's so sad. And she's actually begging him, let me forgive you. Give me one small reason to forgive you and I will, no questions, you know. It's very, very heart-wrenching, but that's so much of what love is like, you know, in reality. It kind of reminds me of, you know, it's sort of one of a small example of something that, you know, with us and God, you know, like, you know, all we have to do is give God, you know, ask God's forgiveness and he forgives us immediately, you know, just, you know, he's literally, like, you know, desperate for people to ask him forgiveness, you know. God is you know, he seriously wants people, you know, so much wants people to just ask him for forgiveness, and he's ready right there, you know, to give it, you know. So that's it kind of made me think of that, and that's why, you know, it kind of hit me really hard, because, you know, it's kind of a human character TV show example of, you know, a small glimmer of an example of, you know, what real love is like. So it's very touching to me. Any story with any sort of super forgiveness, super loving forgiveness always does remind me of God, you know. So it was really, really very touching to me. And then we see that Toby is not in the loft, which was kind of good for me, because I'm like, if he's in there ignoring this, I would not be able to get over this, you know. I was very angry at Toby at this point, but you know, if he had been in there listening to this and not answering the door, I was going to be done with him forever. And so the little hope we did see is that he wasn't in there. But however, Mona was sitting in the kitchen eating the lasagna that Spencer had prepared and drinking some wine and listening to classical music, and she smirks too, and I was so mad at her at this time. I just did not know what to do with myself. I was so mad and angry at her then, which I rarely do get angry at Mona, because she's adorable and a genius and I love her character, but even when she's doing bad stuff, it's kind of just, that's crazy, or that's brilliant, or that's, you know, funny. You know, even if it's something really, like running over Hannah with a car, I'm just kind of shocked by it, but it doesn't even make me mad that she did that. Like, it doesn't make me, but her little smirk when she's eating lasagna, I got so mad at her. But at least we know Toby wasn't in there listening to this and ignoring her, so okay, so anyway, that rounds out the episode there, but I wanted to get into Troian's acting. Earlier, the first time I watched it, I talked about not knowing whether Spencer knew Toby was Zay, and of course, by the end of the episode, we realized she knew the whole time. Not the whole time he was Zay, but ever since she went to get a pen, or put the pen back in his drawer, I guess that's when she found the parking pass, which she presented it to him, you know, in the kitchen. I forgot to mention that. She held out the parking pass, said Elam on it, and she said, is that who you've been pretending to be to go see Mona, or something like that. So anyway, she found it right when she put the pen back. So the whole time while she was talking to Hannah and Emily, and while she was greeting Toby and taking the flowers for her anniversary and taking the key and lying about it, that all those times when he called her, you know, ever since we see her in his loft, after that, she knew that he was on the A-team. And so, you know, when I watched it again later that night, because there's 2 airings, I was like, you can tell she knew that he was on the A-team, which means that Troian layered her acting in a way that this is going to sound confusing, but if you didn't know she knew, you couldn't tell that she knew. But once you did know she knew, you could tell she knew. In her acting, like, you know, you can tell she knew now. You know, I can't go back and watch it the first time again, but I honestly tried to figure it out, so, you couldn't tell she knew. And she was acting in a way that you couldn't, for the life of you, figure out if she knew. And, however, once you know that she knew, you can go back and watch it, and she was acting in a way that you could tell she knew. So she, layered her acting in a way that, whether she knew or not, either way, she's acting it correctly. She pulled it off, in such a way that, either way you're watching it, knowing or not knowing, she's acting correctly for that. And I just cannot believe it. I can't fathom how on earth she triple acted. She's pretending to be Spencer, who does know. At the same time, she's pretending to be Spencer, who doesn't know. I mean, she's obviously always Spencer, but Troian, herself is acting in this role as Spencer. She's double acting here. She's layering her acting in a way that fits with both answers here. And so, which, I mean, at the same time, because all the actors on the show kind of have to layer the acting in a way that, this character could be guilty or not, So, if they turn out to be guilty, then you can go back and see that they were. Or if they turn out to be innocent, you can go back and see that they were, But this is majorly, just in your face, triple acting, and it's amazing to me. And Troian is literally one of the best actresses I can ever think of. Go and watch it again and pay attention to that specific times and see, she layered her acting. It's amazing. And so, Troian, you're amazing if you ever listen to this. And she knows what I mean, I'm sure. So that's all. Okay, thanks, bye.